All right, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Again, as I was mentioning, do not forget that this Thursday night, in conjunction with the National Day of Prayer, we will have a One Cry Prayer Summit. It'll be a live participatory radio event, 7 to 9 p.m. Central, right here on the AFR Talk Network. Erwin Lutzer, Nancy Lee DeMoss, Crawford Loritz, and others will be focusing on prayer for spiritual revival. There's going to be a focus on Scripture, worship and music led by Meredith Andrews and Matthew West. Again, this Thursday night, May 2nd, from 7 to 9 p.m. live right here on AFR Talk. Let's grab one call before we go back to more content. Let's go to Jane in Glen Allen, Virginia. Jane, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. I wanted to call and tell you that I was listening to Star Parker this morning on Sandy Rios' show.
Yes.
She was filling in, and she was just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, she's terrific. And, you know, she's got her own program on our Urban Family Communication Network, Urban Family Talk. We're building a network to get the conservative value message proclaimed and defended in the black community. And she's one of our flagship radio hosts. Anyway,
I heard her talk about that, and God bless her for that.
Absolutely.
The thing that I wanted to let your listeners know, though, is she said something that was quite disturbing, and it's really bothered me all day long.
What's that?
She said that the medical examiner testified at the Gosnell trial that he couldn't say for sure if the babies were really dead when they came out of the womb, and that might be enough to plant just enough doubt in the jury's mind to get him off, and she was very upset about that, and she thinks he's going to get off because of this medical examiner, and I just wanted people to know that that someone can come forth and say something like that. And
well, you know, and that's a legitimate concern, but the medical examiner, the only reason he could say that is he wasn't there. But you have eyewitness testimony after eyewitness testimony that these babies were alive, that they were moving, that they were breathing, that their chests were moving up and down, that their arms were moving, their legs were moving. We had that one graphic story of a baby was born into a toilet and it was flailing about like it was trying to swim to safety. I mean, you have abundant eyewitness testimony that these babies were in fact alive. You know, and Gosnell basically never denied that he snipped the spinal cords. Well, if the baby's dead, why would you even do that?
Exactly. And why would he laugh in the face of the prosecutor when he asked him if he was human?
Yeah.
Well, I just want everybody that's aware of it to be praying that that God will just send wisdom into their hearts and open their eyes to the understanding of what a monster this man is.
Yeah,
and it's not just in his clinic. Starr said it's everywhere.
Yeah, and that's what that Kirsten Powers column in USA Today was about. And that's the thing that's really sobering, Jane. Listen, I appreciate your call. You know, what's sobering is Kirsten Powers saying, look, this guy is not an outlier. You've got these problems all across the country. You know, I read stories come across my desk virtually every day about another botched abortion at a Planned Parenthood clinic where an ambulance has to be summoned to provide help to the mother and the baby because so much damage has been done. Well, let's grab some sound bites. 888-589-8840, number to call if you want to join the program. Let's grab clip number 3, Rob. And the reason this is significant, this is Chuck Todd on MSNBC. And I did not listen to the president's speech at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Couldn't bring myself to do it. I did catch some sort of highlights afterward. And, you know, he actually told some pretty funny jokes. I had no interest in playing him here on the program. But at the end, he got pretty caustic towards some portions of the media. And Chuck Todd talks about that. And this is very significant for our purposes, you and me. Let's listen.
You know, what I wonder how many people realized at the end when he did his, you know, there's always this part at the end where they get serious for a minute. And it's usually the part where presidents say, you know, I think the press has a good job to do and I understand what they have to do. He didn't say that. He wasn't very complimentary of the press. You know, we all can do better. It did seem, I thought his pot shots, joke-wise, and then the serious stuff about the internet, the rise of the internet media and social media and all that stuff, he hates it, okay? He hates this part of the media. He really thinks that the sort of the buzzification, this isn't just about BuzzFeed or Politico and all this stuff, but he thinks that sort of coverage of political media has hurt political discourse. He hates it, and I think he was trying to make that clear last night.
So it's not that it hurts political discourse. It's that it interferes with his political agenda. That's what he's complaining about. And so he hates alternative media. We're a part of that world that Chuck Todd was talking about. BuzzFeed's in there, Political's in there, but they're left-wing organs, and Barack Obama doesn't like them any more than he likes alternative media, conservative talk radio, and outlets like AFR Talk. But here's the point. The fact that President Obama shows such a visceral distaste means that he knows that alternative media represents a threat to him and to his agenda, that we are stopping him from doing what he otherwise would be able to do. He cannot control us, and that's what really tees him off. He controls. We played that soundbite the other day from Frank Luntz, where he's saying, look, the Barack Obama is in control of all of the mainstream media. I mean, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, all dancing to his tune. But he cannot control Fox News. He cannot control alternative media. He cannot control internet media. He's got no control there. And that's what bothers him, because they're interfering with his agenda. Let's drop down to clip 15, Rob, if we can grab that one. President Bush opened his library last week, and this question came up on a liberal talk show program hosted by Bill Press about George Bush's relationship with the media compared to Barack Obama's relationship with the media. Remember, Barack Obama said, we're going to have the most transparent administration in history. We're going to be open. We're going to be available to the press. And the subject of the comparison between the two on this subject came up on Bill Press's program. And David Jackson of USA Today is the one that Bill Press is talking to. Let's listen.
Let's just talk about accessibility to the press between the Bush years and the Obama years.
Oh, boy, that's a hot potato. There was marginally probably more during the Bush years, oddly enough. But I think
Really?
it's just...
Yeah, he said the openness to the media was actually better in the Bush years. More accessibility and more open. Now let's play clips 4 and 5. I got a couple of Ted Cruz clips for you. These are great. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Marco Rubio is not the man. Ted Cruz is the man. Even Rush Limbaugh, he's drunk a little too deep from the Marco Rubio well. He's basically in the tank for Marco Rubio. And Marco Rubio wants to lead this nation and the Republican Party off the cliff into the abyss on this amnesty thing. So Rush Limbaugh's got stars in his eyes about Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is not the man. Ted Cruz is the man. He went home, spoke at a Tea Party event last weekend, and what Marco Rubio and Senator Lee from Utah and Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, they wrote a letter, sent it to Harry Reid, saying, look, we are going to filibuster any effort to pass gun control legislation. We are going to filibuster it. And here's what he said happened. Clip 1, what happened to the grassroots.
This is where y'all made the difference. Because what happened in state after state after state is once that letter was out there, senators would go to their home states, they'd show up at a town hall, and men and women from their state would stand up and say, hey, why aren't you standing up for the Second Amendment? What's wrong with you? If these guys are fighting, what are you doing? Now, I got to tell you, there are few things elected officials like less than getting heat from their constituents. And we had 2 weeks for the grassroots to get mobilized. Look, when we signed that letter, we understood to turn around this train, we needed a force larger than any group of senators in Washington. We needed the American people to get engaged. And that 2 week, you started seeing the heat turn up and up and up and up.
So Ted Cruz saying, look, we knew to stop gun control, we needed a massive force politically. And that was you. It was grassroots Americans. And listen to what Ted Cruz is saying to us. He's saying, look, it was really the American people. It was you ordinary Americans. You are the ones that stopped that atrocious ban on hunting rifles. You were the ones that stopped that. This ought to be tremendous encouragement to us. I tell you every day we're fighting a winnable war. Ted Cruz saying the same thing. You, ladies and gentlemen, Ted Cruz said to the Tea Party types, ordinary grassroots Americans, you are fighting a winnable war. You were the ones that stopped the gun control, people control bill. Now, here is clip 2, and Ted Cruz saying, look, this got me in trouble with my own colleagues, my own Republican colleagues in the Senate. Let's listen.
I got to tell you, the look of shock from the senior Democrats, they were convinced they had won. And I got to tell you also, I don't know that there is an issue that has generated more heat internally in the Republican conference. We've had probably 5 or 6 lunches with a bunch of Republican senators standing up and looking at Rand and Mike and me and yelling at us at the top of their lungs. I mean, really upset. And they said, look, why did you do this? But as a result of what you did, when I go home, my constituents are yelling at me that I got to stand on principle. I'm really not making that up. And I don't even bother to argue with them. I just sort of let them yell and say, look, vote your conscience.
I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Ted Cruz is the man. Rob, can we grab clip 14? Do we have, if we can jet with that one? Let's play that one. George Bush talking about the Republican Party.
We're leaderless now. The Republican Party's leaderless. It's not the first time we've been leaderless, nor will it be the last time a political party is leaderless. In other words, we've been in the wilderness, and pretty soon our party will start coalescing around somebody to become our leader. I wish his name was Jeb. I have no idea if Jeb's going to run. But when that happens...
But you want him to.
Absolutely, I want him to. He'd be a great president. And but whether or not he chooses to run is not my choice. He's had the benefit of seeing his father and brother run for office, and he knows it's a very personal decision to make. But my point is, parties go in cycles, and but soon there will be a leader. And the fundamental question of both parties, and the fundamental question is, will they be able to unite the different elements of their parties behind a common mission? And a philosophy that says, give me a chance to govern, and people's lives will get better.
What I want to suggest to you, ladies and gentlemen, is, what President Bush is saying here is there's a vacuum right now at the top of the Republican Party. It's got no leader. John Boehner's not the guy. Marco Rubio is not the guy. I think maybe Ted Cruz is the guy. Focal Point AFR Talk.
Washington Watch.